Good morning. My name's Eddie Chin. I'm one of the members of the board here at TVUUC. Hi.
Talk to the mic.
Hello? Can you hear? No? How do you turn it on?
No, there's no switch. Smack it if you can. There you go.
Speak into
Yeah?
it.
Yeah.
Okay, my name's Eddie Chin. I'm one of your board members here at Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here on behalf of the board and the program council. You're welcome here, whoever you are, wherever you're from, and wherever you are on your journey. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about us, you can fill out the visitor information card that's located in the backseat pocket of your pew or chair in front of you and drop it in the collection plate when it goes by. For those of you viewing online, you can go to the church website at tvuuc.org, and on the menu, select Stay in Touch and fill out the virtual visitor card. For those who might feel more comfortable, the Lizzie Crozier-French room remains designated as a remote viewing area with masks required for those over the age of 2. As we move forward together, please remember that we are each other's keeper. If you or your family are interested in our youth religious education program, please visit our education table located in the lobby, and Miriam is there to answer any of the questions that you might have today. And let's see, we got a couple of announcements. Polly Murphy, you there?
Hi, I'm Polly Murphy, and I'm with Justice Knox. And I'm here just to tell you that there is, that there is a special celebration tomorrow night, June 12th, and it will be at New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. Dinner will be served. We've passed the deadline, but we've been said if you could get in touch with myself, Barbara Taylor, Ruth Horton, Judy Gibson or Greer, just let somebody know. We can get you dinner. All the details about this is on the website, and there's a little search button, and you just push in Justice Knox. It'll pop up, and it'll tell you directions. 6:30 over. They're very prompt. It'll be over by 8:30. This is a time that we really celebrate. We had 105 people come, friends and members and friends of TVUC, to the action in May. I mean, this was amazing, and we have thanked you all, and I thank you again. But it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be details about what happened at the action, all the follow-up that is happening as well. There's going to be all 22 congregations from all over Knoxville, so there'll be fellowship with everybody, and we would love to have you come. Our organizers have worked really hard and continue to work hard, and they need to get paid. And so we're asking for some financial investment at this time for our future work. So please come tomorrow night, and please give. Look on the website. You can find out when and where. Let us know, and there'll be dinner and fellowship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Polly. Today's Honor with Flowers celebrates Patsy and Benny Farmer's 50th wedding anniversary. Congratulations. If you are interested in donating for an honor or with flowers, please contact the front office. Also, I guess today we're having our congregational meeting here in the sanctuary, and starting at 12:30, and we'll be serving pizza as soon as this service ends. Also, if you're online and you can't make the Zoom or be here in person for it, you can vote online, but you make sure you need to get your vote in before 12:30 p.m. today. Now, after the service, you can join us for coffee and conversation in the fellowship hall. We'll still be having that along with the pizza. For those of you online, because of the meeting today, that we're going to not have that. Now, please silence your electronic devices as we enter into worship.
Jeff Kovac is going to be playing the Eric Satie's Gymnopédie #1, and this is usually thought of as an easy listening piece. But the word Gymnopédia refers to a traditional celebration of ancient Sparta. It was a ritualistic competition celebrating their great victories in war. Their songs and dances boasted of their physical prowess, while also being a 3-day test of skill and endurance. At one memorable Gymnopédia, there was bitter, ironic news for Sparta. They had recently received a grievous loss in battle. Families of the deceased were instructed to hide their grief so as to not disrupt the celebration of war. So they were seen in the streets smiling cheerfully amidst the bravado. We don't know if Satie pictured this historical scene when he chose the name, but it is easy to imagine that a cinematographer might pair this stately, wistful melody in a slow-motion pan of just such a scene, contrasting the revelry with the hidden pain.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, and the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we can make it a holy place. Come, let us worship together. Let's join together in our chalice lighting hymn. Let us join together in our opening hymn, 323 in the gray hymnal, Break Not the Circle. I invite you to join me in responsive reading 602, which is also in the back of your gray hymnal. It comes from the Tao Te Ching. I'll read the first words and you read the words in italics. If there is to be peace in the world,
there must be peace in the nations.
If there is to be peace in the nations,
there must be peace in the cities.
If there is to be peace in the cities,
there must be peace between neighbors.
if there is to be peace between neighbors,
there must be peace in the home.
if there is to be peace in the home,
there must be peace in the heart.
now the Reverend Gordon Gibson will lead us in our joys and concerns.
Good morning. I'm Gordon Gibson, a member of the spiritual care team. One member of the team is always ready to take calls at the pastoral care phone number that you'll find in the newsletter and on the back page of the Order of Worship. Call if you have a care, concern, delight, question, worry, thought, for which you need a listening ear. We take daytime or early evening calls, and if it's a time or circumstance when that care team member can't take the call, she or he will respond to a voicemail. On second Sundays, this is one, we have listening booths for an in-person listening ear. Today, it's a complex day. Mike Matvey will be trying to provide a brief listening booth before the annual meeting of the congregation. We have word that Gail Anderson has moved to a rehab center as she recovers from surgery. She has very much appreciated the cards of support, but doesn't want visitors at this point. She is looking forward to getting back to church. A memorial service for longtime member Ann Richardson was held here yesterday. Music was provided by her sister Sally, a eulogy by her sister Jane, and remembrances from her daughter Elizabeth. Anne found bliss in the second half of life, working as a school librarian and purchasing a round-the-world ticket that allowed her to circle the globe and visit many countries. Gary Scales died a week ago today. Gary was a good friend of many here at TVUUC and a regular at Debbie Ellis's poker nights. He will be remembered for his gentle spirit, sardonic humor, and conscientious dedication to good causes. Earlier this week, David and Amy Asbury were worried by Amy's high temperature and pain. They are pleased the temperature has come down and appendicitis has been ruled out as cause of the pain. They expect, and we are pulling for, continued improvement. Doug Cox has been heard talking about his newest grandchild, Mickey Rowe. He even has a picture which he might be persuaded to share. It's really nice when people can be proud of their grown children for exceptional accomplishment. I'm guessing that Carolyn and Reed Franks will show up proudly next Wednesday at the East Tennessee History Center when Julia Franks will be talking about her new novel, The Say-So, at 7 p.m. It sounds like a very interesting book, described as being about two young women contending with unplanned pregnancies in different eras. In fact, see the write-up in this morning's News Sentinel. Another delightful thing is when a marriage stands the test of time. Last Friday, our guitarist and his wife, Jeff and Susan Kovac, could look back on their wedding 50 years ago. We congratulate them on reaching that milestone and wish them many more years to enjoy each other. In the broader community, we might keep in mind the Reverend Susan Thissell and Messiah Lutheran Church, where she is pastor. Messiah Lutheran Church is hosting the Planned Parenthood Mobile Health Unit, providing a very important service to not just Knox County, but the East Tennessee community. So, those are among the joys and concerns. Those are among the joys and concerns of this church community. There are others of which we're not aware, others we've not been given permission to share. Here in this community, may all of them, known and unknown, spoken and unspoken, be held in love and care.
For our meditation, I want to offer these words from the Reverend Elizabeth Nugent, who grew up in this church. Here are her words of prayer. God of mercy, Spirit who makes peace out of war, who wanders with refugees and keeps vigil with children at our borders, holy healer in hospitals and shelters, at schools, in homes, at weddings, and in planes. May your love be balm for all hurt. May your truth be present in offices of power and in the hearts of soldiers and civilians alike. Many times we thought the arc was bending toward justice. Many times we saw it happen in courtrooms and in streets, in the hearts of people creating their own liberation. Many times we have also doubted. For those of us this morning who doubt, who despair that brokenness and suffering and war may win, remind us of all the small mercies, the tiny triumphs, the hope that dwells in our world. Let us pause for a moment of silent worship together. Amen. You may remain seated for our second hymn, hymn 133, in the great hymnal, One World.
One
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Claudia Presley. I am the Director of Operations and Finance, actually Finance and Operations. Anyway, today is a Generosity Offering Sunday. What that means is that 100% of any contribution that you make today here in the building or online goes to our general operating fund unless it is designated as a pledge. So today, I invite you to give generously. If you're in the building, that's offering baskets that will be passed, giving kiosk that's in the lobby. If you're watching online, easiest way to give is to text give to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount that you would like to give. If you're watching online, there should also be a bar or a button that says Give Now, and you can give that way. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
The scriptures tell us that the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But I sometimes think the scripture should contain one of those disclaimers like the ones that pharmaceutical commercials on televisions have that says something like, warning, side effects of religion may include arrogance, argumentativeness, acrimoniousness, vindictiveness, and sanctimony. This morning I want to talk about religion and conflict with special attention to why no one ever wins a holy war. We're celebrating some long-term marriages today. And some of the reasons we never win a holy war is the same reasons we never win an argument in a successful long-term relationship. We get to decide whether we want to be right or whether we want to be in relationship. So no one ever really wins a holy war. I'm reminded of a scene in the 1983 movie War Games where a computer is running through multiple simulations for what might be a successfully won thermonuclear war. So it runs one simulation after another, and finally the computer announces that the only way to win is not to play. So it is with holy wars. The only way to win is not to play. When I was in 4th grade, my father went to study for the ministry at Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, and I would continue my theological education by riding my bike down to the college bookstore where I would buy a Charlie Brown comic book every Saturday with my allowance. Some of my earliest theological lessons come from those books. And I remember a comic strip where Sally, Charlie Brown's sister, is talking with her friend Linus, and she says, "I would make a good evangelist. You know that kid who sits behind me after school? I convince him that my religion is better than his." Linus said, "How did you do that?" And Sally said, "I hit him over the head with my lunchbox." Sometimes religion brings out love, joy, and peace. And other times it has less desirable outcomes. Sometimes religion brings out the best in us, and sometimes it brings out the worst. Conflicts have left a heavy toll on mainline churches in America over the last decade. Just last month, 264 congregations in our region left the Holston Valley Conference of the United Methodist Church. The schism in that denomination is mirrored by schisms happening in other denominations across the land, including Presbyterians, American Baptists, Lutherans, United Church of Christ, and the Episcopal Church, and many others. These schisms are leading to a record number of church closings. Indeed, when I started the ministry, I really admired the Methodist Church and its ability to launch new congregations, sort of identify a spot in the city where a new congregation should launch and build a building and fill it with people, and just seemed to be a thriving organization. And now when I drive around town, I see some of those new buildings are empty, or they've been sold and repurposed for other businesses. My old seminary professor, Tom Mullen, used to say, people will join a church, but they will never join a conflict. And for this reason and many others, many churches in the main line are declining in these times. The presenting issues of these schisms are often conflicts over sexual orientation or gender identity. But if you know anything about human conflict, you know the presenting issues aren't always the real issues. The presenting issues are just manifestations of some larger problems. When Gene Robinson was ordained as the first openly gay bishop in the Episcopal Church, it caused quite a controversy in that denomination, and my father, the Episcopal minister, called me up and said, "I suppose the idea of a gay bishop wouldn't be controversial in your church." And I said, "Actually, the idea of a bishop would be very controversial." So this morning I want to move beyond the presenting issues to talk about the spiritual issues that underlie our conflicts with each other, the spirituality that informs how we navigate conflicts, that speaks to how we address conflicts, resolve conflicts, or manage conflicts. The schismatic conflicts in mainline denominations have had the quality of a holy war, and it's been hard. I have friends who are friends with other families, and they won't even let their children talk to each other anymore. So it's divided friend from friend, family members from other family, communities from each other. It's been an incredibly divisive time. In other words, these conflicts have not had the qualities of love, joy, and peace. No one ever wins such holy wars. Now, in our church, it's not usually the culture war issues that get us into trouble. I always say if you want to raise a big stink in this congregation, don't say something controversial about religion, because that won't be enough to do it. It won't be enough. And don't say something controversial about politics, because that won't be enough to do it either. Instead, all you have to do to raise a big stink in this congregation is to go into any given room, look around and say, I think we ought to paint this room a different color. Kaboom. In the Unitarian Universalist Church, we affirm and promote the worth and dignity of every person. We celebrate Pride Month. We welcome diversity. We aspire to be the beloved community by dismantling racism. But we have very different ideas about what the appropriate color should be for certain rooms. Other areas of disagreement in recent time have included what constitutes a beautiful and easily managed welcoming garden at the front of our church. Or we have very different ideas about the relative safety of open flame candles on Christmas Eve. I can't tell you how many meetings I sat through on that issue. We have different ideas about whether or not it's appropriate to have multimedia technology in the sanctuary. And these are, in the scale of things, relatively small disagreements. But even small disagreements can become toxic, because it's not just what we disagree about, it's how we disagree about it. It's not what we disagree about, it's how we disagree about it. And even the smallest matters can become holy wars. At the beginning of each worship service, we say the same words, that affirmation: love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant. And whether you know it, those words have been implemented as a form of conflict resolution. I've sat in meetings where their issue is getting a little bit contentious, and people were starting to maybe speak a little offhand and maybe not thinking about every word they said, when suddenly someone would say, love is the spirit of this church. And it worked. It had the effect of bringing us back to our better selves. Another good example of a covenant, and that's what those words are, is a covenant. You can find them if you're in a meeting in one of our children's religious education classrooms. There is a covenant posted on the walls. It's meant to teach the idea of covenant in the simplest possible language to our youngest possible members. And the covenant reads, show respect for all, be kind and fair, participate and encourage each other, share, listen, and take turns, include everyone, settle disagreements in peaceful and caring ways, and take care of our space and our world. Now, this language is written for children, but I've told adult groups who were undergoing some struggles at different times, who happen to meet in those rooms, I say, just use that covenant. It's there on the wall. If you want to add some other words, if you want to add some adult languages, but that's a good foundation. It's a good foundation for working through issues. And sometimes that's what we need, the simplest language to bring us to our better selves. Now, our congregation has a much longer covenant that you can find on the church website. Just Google it. TVUUC, Congregational Covenant, and you will find it. And I'm going to abbreviate it a little bit. Some of the themes from that covenant which are relevant to this issue of conflict is our promises that we make to each other. We promise to welcome all who come to us with acceptance and respect for the differences among us, and to remain open to the richness and discomforts of diversity. We promise to listen with sincerity and love, to reflect carefully about the potential results of our words and actions before we speak or act. We promise to assume the positive intent of others and keep our discussions to topics and issues rather than personalities. We promise to acknowledge that we may not always agree with the group decisions, but we will support and participate the decision-making processes that are collaborative and democratic and open to compromise. To act with loving kindness, seeking to promote justice, equity, and compassion. To understand that building our beloved community requires ongoing learning and practices of courageous love and reconciliation. So after this service, we're having a congregational meeting, and it's a time for us to come together and talk about the life of our congregation and share our concerns and vote on a budget. And I can't tell you, would the leaders, would the board, members of the board be willing to stand up right now if you're a member of our church board? I can't tell you how many hours these folks have spent listening to the many different points of view that are a part of any robust Unitarian Universalist congregation, and making sure that our congregational meeting is set up so that you can participate in person or online. Or there's just been so much work to figure out how to do democracy in this age of multi-platform worship and post-pandemic lockdown. So a great job by this board. And I mentioned these covenants because in that hymn we sang, in the middle hymn we sang earlier, it said that promise of one world comes from covenant. That promise of one world comes from this idea of covenant, the promises we make to each other. And I mention that because we live in an age where there is a tendency to make every conflict into a holy war. And that tendency is contagious. Many people campaigning for public office are setting an example that's felt in elementary schools and middle schools and summer camps, using powers to lead to division instead of unity, to polarization instead of peace and reconciliation, when what we all dream for is that dream of one world. One world. Salman Rushdie once said, "Be careful when the powerful trample over you, because the disease can infect you through the soles of their feet." And we are living in an age where the powerful are trampling over many, many, many people. So let's do our best to not catch that disease. Let's do our best to avoid that disease, to avoid the contagion that is so seductive. For the side effects of religion can include arrogance, argumentativeness, and acrimoniousness. And yet, if we remain grounded in the Spirit, we can know love, and we can know joy, and we can know peace. For no one ever really wins a holy war. And indeed, the only way to win is to not play. So may it be. I want to invite you to join together in our last hymn, which will have some direction, because there's some, you see the people moving. We got a little leadership going on here. 1025, When Will the Fighting Cease? David?
I'd love to have a 100-voice choir. So I have you for 5 minutes. I'd like to practice. That's my favorite thing to do. So you have around the room several instrumentalists who are going to guide you through the round, and they have singers who are working with them to guide you in the words. So whichever instrumentalist you hear best, whichever singers you hear best, sing with them. And since we have a couple extra minutes, I'd love to practice some of your parts. So, so for parts 1 and 3, cello and tuba, where you start on F in the round, can we all sing that on this side of the room together? So I'll give you ready, go, when. So are you ready, instrumentalists? Can we hear that first F? So, when will the, here we go, ready, go. When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries. Excellent job. So over on this side of the room, that's the same thing you'll sing in the beginning in unison when we all sing together. But when it breaks into a round, you will play with Elise on trombone or Ken on euphonium, and you'll be singing that same round down a fourth. So, when will the fighting cease? Let's try that on this side of the room. So, ready, go. When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries. Good job. Now, later on, you get to sing in Latin. So the Latin text you can see in your score is Da pacem Domine. Da pacem Domine. In diebus nostris. In diebus nostris. Da pacem Domine. In diebus nostris. Great job. So let's sing the F major version, the higher version on this side of the room. So we'll be starting at Da pacem and ready, go. Da pacem Domine. Da pacem Domine. In diebus nostris. Excellent job. You'll be singing it down the fourth, so Da pacem Domine. Let's try that together. So 1, 2, ready, go. Da pacem Domine. Da pacem Domine. In diebus nostris. Nice job. So at the end, it starts to break apart, and there's nothing written in your hymnal to help you do something that sounds like a meaningful ending, and it could just fall apart. But our leaders are going to lead you in repeating the text, when our love breaks boundaries. And that is when fighting will cease, when our love breaks boundaries. Could we just try each of those 4 versions with your instrumentalist leading you? So can we start with part number 4 and sing that together? So we'll be starting at the pickups to 27. So we'll be starting on When Our Love Breaks Boundaries. So let's try that. Everybody who's singing with Elise, let's do that. Ready? 1, 2, 3. When our love breaks boundaries, love breaks. When our love breaks boundaries. Oh, I'm sorry, I was singing tuba. Let's try one more time. All right. When our love, is that right? Yay, great. Thank you. When our love, so we're doing the lower version, I forgot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, go. When our love breaks boundaries, when our love breaks boundaries. So just Elise. Yeah. So let's try just Elise. Just the trombone. So, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, go. When our love breaks boundaries, when our love breaks boundaries. So that's your ending. You can follow her, or you can make up your own notes. So our tuba part starts with when our love breaks boundaries. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3. When our love breaks boundaries, love breaks. When our love breaks boundaries. Great, so you have a slightly different part. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. When our love breaks boundaries, love breaks. When our love breaks boundaries. Great. So let's try part 2, which is Ken leading on the euphonium, and when our love breaks boundaries, when our love breaks boundaries. That'll be your part. Let's try it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, go. When our love breaks boundaries, when our love breaks, when our love breaks boundaries. Oh, or that. Boundaries. And then the last one is being led by cello, Gregory. And that sounds like, when our love breaks boundaries, love breaks boundaries. When our love breaks boundaries. Let's try that together. 1, 2, 3. When our love breaks boundaries, love breaks boundaries. When our love breaks boundaries. Great. So now, enjoy singing along with your leaders. Enjoy trying to follow them, and take this as a metaphor for the experience of being involved in a community of people who are working together. You have smaller groups of committees and leaders, and we're all trying to make our parts fit together as best we can. Some things won't go the way we planned, but some things will work beautifully. And so let's enjoy singing this together. start with an instrumental introduction.
Never let it be said that we won't try anything new at the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. Wonderful, wonderful. Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love. Proclaim the truth that makes us free. About our congregational meeting, but as our last act of worship, I invite you to turn and greet your neighbor.